Hi, this is William from Great Affordable Watches, and today I'm gonna review the Mido Baroncelli Heritage III. As some of you guys know, I have sold my Frederic Constant Slimline a while back, and since then I have been looking for a good replacement. And it took me a while, but in the end I found this watch, and I am extremely impressed by it. We're gonna go through why in this video, but this is probably, in my opinion, the best dress watch under $1,000. And I have tried a lot of different dress watches in this price range, and this far exceeds many of them, if not all of them. And of course there are a lot of good dress watches like the Tissot Visodate, Seiko Sarb, Hamilton Intramatic, which is the closest competitor to this watch in my opinion, and we're gonna go through more about that later in the video. So first we're gonna go through some specifications. The case size is 39mm in diameter, the lug width is 20mm, and the case thickness is only 6.75mm. It got sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating, and it's water resistant down to 3 ATM, which is pretty standard for a dress watch, and especially a thin dress watch. And as I said, the thickness is only 6.75mm, and that is extremely thin for being an automatic dress watch, and this is probably the thinnest dress watch in this price range. I have never seen a thinner dress watch or thinner watch at this price point, and this is extremely impressive. This watch is powered by the ETA 2892, and we're gonna take a close look at the movement later. And this ETA movement is known for being a lot thinner than the ETA 2824, and that's why many manufacturers like Omega, etc., have used the ETA 2892 as a base for a lot of different chronograph movements. So this is a very thin watch and a very thin movement, but I think it's very impressive to fit this movement in this size, and especially at this price point. As I said, this is probably the thinnest watch with ETA 2892 and in this price point overall. And the only watch I know that is almost as thin is the Hamilton Intramatic, and it uses the same ETA 2892 movement, but I think that watch is around 8mm. So this is a bit thinner. You can really notice the thinness when you wear it on your wrist, and I'm not had a lot of thin watches, and especially not as thin as this, and it's really something special to have a automatic watch this thin. But if you know any watches in this price range that is thinner or equally as thin as this one, please let me know down in the comments, because it's pretty hard to find a thin watch in this price point, so it would be nice to see some good alternatives. We can see that the case is all polished with a stepped case, and I think this looks really good for the overall watch, because I'm not the biggest fan of a all polished case, but thanks to the stepped case here, I think suits it really well. And we got a sound crown. It says Mido, very simple but very elegant, and I really like the lug design and the case shape. It wears even thinner than it actually is, so it looks even thinner and wears even thinner thanks to the case shape, so that's very nice as well. And as we can see, the hands look three-dimensional, but they are actually completely flat with a polish on one side and brushing on the other side, and I think this is a very nice touch, and I don't think they could have fit 3D hands in this case, so this is a very smart way to make the watch look less simple and give it a bit of a contrast. This is pretty hard to see, but the second hand is heat-treated blue, and I think that gives it a very nice contrast to the otherwise very simple dial and very simple watch overall. Another nice thing is the off-center logo, and I think I really like the font and the fact that it's off-centered. I think it adds a bit of a nice flair to the very simple dial. And me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of asymmetrical dials or layouts, but I think this works very, very well. The only thing I can complain about when it comes to the dial is the date at 4 o'clock. I think the date is very nicely done and nicely executed, and I really like the font of the numbers. But I would have preferred it at 6 o'clock, as I think that looks a lot better. But it's still nicely executed, so I can't complain too much about that. Okay, let's take a look at the movement. Here is the movement, and as we can see, it's very nicely decorated with some Geneve stripes on the rotor, perlage and diamond cut on the bridges, and also some blued screws, which is very nice looking. And this is probably the most decorated movement. This is probably the most decorated ETA 2892 movement I've seen, and the decoration matches top grade version of this movement. I think it got the same decoration, so this is very nice to see. But I think the movement grade is L bar, but I'm not sure. But the decoration is very nicely done nonetheless. And as we all know, the ETA 2892 is a very respected movement, and it's a great workhorse movement from ETA. And some people consider it a step up from the ETA 2824. And when it comes to specifications, it's basically the same. I think the power reserve is 42 hours instead of 38. But the main difference is the layout of the layout and the looks of the movement, and the thinness or the thickness. Other than that, they perform basically identical. I think when you compare a L bar grade 2892 to a ETA 2824, they perform almost identical. I think the 2892 performs a bit better at the same specifications, but at top grade they perform identical. My only big gripe with this watch is the strap. I think the strap is very, very bad. It almost feels like paper, and it feels very, very cheap. It looks decent, but it feels very, very cheap. I should note that it's pretty comfortable to wear, but I would replace this with a nice leather strap instead of using the original one. Another nice thing I was very impressed with is the crown, and it feels extremely solid. It's no play at all when you have it pulled out, and it feels very, very solid when you both when you wind it and when you change the time. And this is probably the most solid feeling crown action I have felt in a watch at this price point. So this is also very impressive. Okay, now we're gonna take a look at a wrist shot, so I'll be right back. Okay, here it is, and as we can see, I think it looks very, very nice, and the size is almost perfect. The watch could have been 38 millimeters, that wouldn't hurt it, but I think the size is perfect for a dress watch in today's standards. And of course, thanks to the thinness, it can wear perfectly under a shirt. And having a thin watch like this, I think it's thanks to the thinness and the design of the lugs. I think it sits perfectly on my wrist, and it feels very, very comfortable because the lugs, the watch almost hugs the wrist instead of sitting on top of it, as I said in my review of the Frederic Constant Slimline Moonface. And I think this is a very important thing, that the watch hugs your wrist more than sitting on top of it. And this certainly hugs it, and it feels very, very comfortable on the wrist. It's very hard to pick up on camera, but the dial is not really white, it's more off-white or cream white. It also got the eggshell-like texture to it. In person, I think this looks very nice, and it's executed very nicely. This is also a very nice touch. It could have had a completely white dial and it would have looked good, but I think the eggshell texture really adds to the watch as a whole. And all the little details like the blue hand and the brushing and the polishing on the hands, it just adds to the value of the watch and the feeling of it. And as you may understand, I'm very impressed by this watch, and there is nothing really except for the strap I don't like. This is probably one of the most complete packages at this price point. And this is not the most common or famous watch, but this is certainly one of the most impressive watches in this price range. And if you're looking for a dress watch for under $1,000, I would definitely recommend this one. It's just, I'm blown away by the quality, the value, and the craftsmanship they have put into this watch. And to fit a ETA in this thin case is just very impressive. And as I said before, if you know any thin dress watches under $1,000, please leave it down in the comments. And I have a few more reviews coming up, a few more interesting reviews. So stay tuned for that. And if you haven't subscribed, please do that and like this video if you liked it. And if you didn't like it, please leave a dislike. And so thanks for watching, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye.